The receipt in my hand showed $847.32 for landscaping supplies that never existed. I'm Knox Rivera, 34, maintenance supervisor for Holloway Municipal Services. I've lived in Pine Corner for 6 years. The neighborhood sits on the east side of town where the streets curve around old oak trees and property lines matter. The HOA board meeting had ended 20 minutes ago. Most residents filed out discussing snow removal budgets and spring assessments. I stayed behind to review the quarterly expense reports. Standard procedure for someone who manages city infrastructure. Numbers tell stories when you know how to read them. Ryan Clark, our treasurer, had submitted invoices for mulch, fertilizer, and decorative stones. The receipts looked legitimate. Proper letterhead from Midwest Garden Supply. Sequential invoice numbers. Even the tax calculations matched South Dakota rates. But I drive past Midwest Garden Supply every morning on Route 14. The building has been empty since March. A faded for lease sign hangs in the window. I pulled out my phone and photographed the receipt. The paper felt wrong, too smooth. The ink had a slight blue tint that quality printers don't produce. I'd seen enough municipal purchase orders to recognize authentic documentation. Ryan had been our treasurer for 18 months. He lived 3 houses down from me on Maple Street. His garage stayed open most evenings, working on neighbors' cars. Everyone trusted him. He fixed my transmission last winter for parts cost only. The community fund held $23,000 in January. These receipts showed we'd spent $12,000 on landscaping alone. But our common areas looked the same as last year. Same patchy grass. Same bare flower beds. Same cracked sidewalks. I walked through the community center one more time. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Folding chairs sat stacked against the wall. The coffee pot still dripped from tonight's meeting. My footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. I checked the supply closet. No new equipment, no extra materials. Nothing that justified these expenses. The receipts were dated over the past 4 months, all from the same vendor, all approved by Ryan's signature as treasurer, all for supplies that should be visible somewhere in our neighborhood. I locked the community center and walked to my car. The October air carried the smell of burning leaves. Porch lights glowed yellow along Maple Street. Everything looked normal, peaceful, exactly like a neighborhood where nothing was wrong. But the numbers didn't lie. Someone was stealing from us. Someone we trusted with our money and our community's future. I started the engine and drove home slowly. Ryan's garage light was on. His silhouette moved around a lifted pickup truck. He waved when he saw my headlights. I waved back and pulled into my driveway. The receipt sat on my passenger seat. Evidence of something I didn't want to believe. Tomorrow I would start digging deeper. The next morning I called Evelyn Clark from the city planning office. She'd helped me with permit questions when I renovated my kitchen last spring. Her voice was crisp and professional over the phone. "Knox, good to hear from you. What can I help you with?" "I need to verify some vendor registrations, business licenses for companies doing work in Pine Corner." "Sure thing. What's the business name?" I read from the receipt. Midwest Landscape Solutions, LLC. The keyboard clicked through her computer search. Nothing under that name in Holloway County. When did they supposedly get licensed? The receipts are dated starting in June. I'm showing no applications, no permits, no business registration for any landscape company with that name. You want me to check the state database? 20 minutes later, she called back. "Knox, there's no Midwest Landscape Solutions registered anywhere in South Dakota. The business doesn't exist." I thanked her and hung up. My coffee had gone cold while I waited. The fake receipt sat on my kitchen table next to my laptop. I photographed it again, this time with better lighting. The phone number on the receipt had a local area code. I dialed it from my landline. The automated message was generic. "You have reached a number that is no longer in service." I drove to the address listed on the receipt. It was a vacant lot on Industrial Drive, 3 miles from Pine Corner. Weeds grew through cracked asphalt. A chain-link fence surrounded the property, with no trespassing signs. Back home, I opened my laptop and searched the HOA's online banking records. Ryan had given all board members access last year for transparency. The account showed regular deposits from homeowner dues. The withdrawals matched the fake receipts perfectly. $2,400 to Midwest Landscape Solutions on June 15th, $1,800 on July 3rd, $3,200 on August 12th, $2,900 on September 8th, $1,700 on October 2nd, $12,000 in 4 months, all to a company that didn't exist. I printed the bank statements and receipt copies. The evidence filled a manila folder. My hands shook slightly as I organized the papers. This wasn't a mistake or oversight. This was deliberate theft. Ryan's garage door was open when I walked past his house that afternoon. He was underneath a blue sedan, working on the exhaust system. Tools scattered across the concrete floor. The radio played classic rock at low volume. "Hey, Knox," his voice echoed from under the car. "How's the Civic running?" "Good as new. Thanks again for the transmission work." He rolled out on a creeper, wiping his hands on a shop rag. "No problem. That's what neighbors do." I watched him work for a few minutes. We talked about the weather, the upcoming election, normal neighborhood conversation. He seemed relaxed. Friendly. The same Ryan who'd helped me move furniture when I first bought the house. "The HOA meeting went pretty late last night," I said. "Yeah, sorry I had to leave early. Had a customer emergency. Transmission fluid leak all over their driveway. We went over the budget reports after you left." His hands paused on the wrench. "Everything look good?" "The landscaping expenses seem high." "Well, you get what you pay for. Midwest does quality work." I nodded and walked home. He'd lied without hesitation, smooth and confident, like he'd practiced the story. That evening I called Evelyn Clark again, this time from my personal cell phone. "Evelyn, it's Knox Rivera. I need another favor. Can you check if any of our HOA board members have business licenses? Specifically, Ryan Clark." "Different Clark family? No relation? Let me look." The computer keys clicked again. "Ryan Clark, 847 Maple Street. He's got a business license for Clark Automotive Services. Filed in 2019. Current and up to date." "What about bank accounts, business accounts in his name?" "That's beyond what I can access. You'd need to contact the bank directly or get law enforcement involved." I thanked her and ended the call. Ryan had a legitimate auto repair business. But he was also stealing from the HOA. The question was how long it had been going on. I spent the next 2 days reviewing old HOA records. Board meeting minutes from the past 18 months, financial reports Ryan had presented, budget proposals he'd submitted. The pattern emerged slowly. Small discrepancies at first. Vendor names that appeared once and never again. Expenses that seemed reasonable individually but added up to significant amounts. Ryan had been skimming money since he became treasurer. The fake landscaping receipts were just his latest scheme. Conservative estimate, he'd stolen over $20,000 from our community fund. I needed more evidence before confronting him. Something undeniable. Something that would hold up if this went to court. Friday afternoon I drove to First National Bank downtown. The branch manager, a woman named Patricia, reviewed my HOA authorization documents. As a board member, I had legitimate access to account records. "I need copies of all checks written to Midwest Landscape Solutions," I told her. She printed the records. 5 checks, exactly matching the amounts on the fake receipts. All endorsed and deposited into an account at a different bank across town. "Can you tell me which account received these deposits?" "I can see the routing number, but I can't access account details at other institutions." "You'd need a subpoena for that information." I thanked her and drove to the other bank. They wouldn't provide any information without proper legal authorization. But I'd confirm the money trail. Ryan had created fake invoices, written HOA checks to his fictional company, and deposited them into his own account. That weekend I installed a security camera in my front window. It had a clear view of Ryan's garage and driveway. If he was stealing from the HOA, he might be involved in other illegal activities. The camera recorded continuously to a memory card. High-definition video with audio. I tested it Saturday night when Ryan was working on a neighbor's truck. The footage was clear enough to read license plates and hear conversations. Sunday morning I reviewed the HOA bylaws and South Dakota statutes on embezzlement. The penalties were serious. Felony charges for amounts over $2,500. Ryan had stolen nearly 10 times that threshold. I also researched the proper procedures for reporting financial crimes. The local police would handle initial investigation, but if federal banking laws were violated, it could escalate to the FBI's white-collar crime unit. Monday evening, I attended another HOA board meeting. Ryan presented the monthly financial report as usual. He mentioned the ongoing landscaping project and praised Midwest Landscape Solutions for their excellent work. "The common areas are really starting to look better," he said, "worth every penny we're spending." I looked around the room. The other board members nodded approvingly. They trusted Ryan completely. He'd built that trust over months of reliable service and friendly neighborhood interactions. After the meeting, I approached Ryan privately. "I'd like to visit the Midwest landscape job sites," I said. "See the work they're doing for us." His expression didn't change. "Sure thing. I'll get you their contact information." Actually, I tried calling them last week. "The number on their invoices doesn't work." "Really? That's strange. Let me check with them and get back to you." He gathered his papers and left quickly. I watched him walk to his car through the community center window. His movements were tense now, hurried. I'd pushed him into a corner. Now I needed to be ready for whatever came next. The security camera would keep recording. The evidence folder was locked in my home safe. Tomorrow I would contact Detective Blake Park from the Business Bureau. It was time to involve law enforcement. Ryan's garage light stayed on until after midnight. I could see him moving around inside, but couldn't tell what he was doing. The camera captured everything in infrared detail. By morning, I would have enough evidence to destroy a neighbor I'd trusted, someone who'd helped me when I needed it. Someone who'd stolen from all of us while smiling and waving every day. The betrayal was complete. Now came the reckoning. Tuesday morning, I called the Holloway Business Bureau. Detective Blake Park answered on the second ring. "I need to report suspected HOA embezzlement," I said. "I have documentation." "How much money are we talking about?" "At least $12,000, possibly more." "Can you come in today?" "Bring everything you have." I arrived at the bureau office at 10 a.m. Detective Park was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. I spread my evidence across his desk. "Fake invoices from a non-existent company," I explained. "Forged signatures on approval forms. Bank records showing payments to accounts that don't match the supposed vendor." He examined each document carefully. "This is solid work. How did you discover it?" "Random audit of our landscaping expenses. The numbers didn't add up." "And the suspect is your neighbor?" "Ryan Clark. He's been our treasurer for 8 months." Detective Park made notes in a leather portfolio. "We'll need to coordinate with the HOA board for official records." "Can you arrange that?" "I'm presenting my findings at Thursday's emergency board meeting." "Good. Don't confront the suspect directly. Let us handle that part." I left the bureau feeling lighter. The investigation was now official, professional, out of my hands. Wednesday evening, Ryan knocked on my door. I answered with my phone recording in my pocket. "Knox, we need to talk about those landscaping invoices." "What about them?" "I think there might be some confusion. Maybe we should review them together." "I've already reviewed them thoroughly." His smile faltered. "Look, if there's a problem, we can work it out, between neighbors." "What kind of problem would need working out?" "Sometimes paperwork gets mixed up. Vendors change their contact information. It happens." I kept my expression neutral. "The board meeting is tomorrow night. We'll discuss everything then." "Maybe we don't need to involve the whole board. This could be embarrassing for everyone." "Embarrassing how?" He shifted his weight, looked past me into my house. You know how these things go. People start talking, making assumptions. What assumptions? That someone did something wrong, when really it's just a misunderstanding. I step back slightly. I think the board should review all our financial records. Make sure everything's accurate. Of course, absolutely. I just want to make sure we handle this properly. After he left, I called Detective Park, reported the conversation. He told me to stay alert and avoid being alone with Ryan. Thursday's emergency board meeting drew a larger crowd than usual. Word had spread through Pine Corner that something significant was happening. I presented my findings methodically, showed the fake invoices, explained the non-existent vendor, demonstrated how the approval signatures were forged. The room went silent. Board members stared at the documents. Ryan sat perfectly still, his face pale. "These are serious allegations," said Evelyn Clark, our board president. "Ryan, do you have an explanation?" "I think Knox has made some mistakes in his analysis," Ryan said. "Midwest Landscape Solutions is a legitimate company. I can provide additional documentation." "The phone number doesn't work," I said. "The address is a vacant lot. The business license doesn't exist." "Sometimes small companies operate differently. Maybe they're between offices." Detective Park entered the room. He'd been waiting outside as planned. "I'm Detective Blake Park from the Business Bureau. We're investigating potential financial crimes related to this HOA. Ryan's composure cracked. His hands trembled slightly. "This is ridiculous. I've served this community faithfully." "Mr. Clark, we need to examine all financial records immediately. The bank has frozen the accounts pending investigation." "You can't do that. I haven't done anything wrong." "The evidence suggests otherwise. We'll need you to come in for questioning tomorrow morning." The meeting dissolved into chaos. Neighbors whispered among themselves. Some looked shocked, others angry. A few seemed suspicious of everyone. Ryan gathered his papers and left without speaking to anyone. I watched him drive away, knowing our neighborhood would never be the same. Friday morning, Detective Park called with an update. Ryan Clark confessed during questioning. He's been stealing HOA funds for 6 months. Total amount is $14,800. What happens now? He'll face charges for embezzlement and fraud. The district attorney is reviewing the case. He's agreed to make full restitution. Will the money be recovered? Most of it. He spent about $3,000 on personal expenses. The rest is still in accounts he controlled. I felt relief mixed with sadness. Justice was being served, but at the cost of community trust. The HOA board met again Monday to discuss next steps. Evelyn Clark had taken over as interim treasurer. She'd already contacted our bank to establish new procedures. "We need better oversight," she said. "Multiple signatures on all checks, monthly independent reviews, complete transparency." "I can help implement those changes," I offered. "My maintenance background includes inventory control and financial tracking." "We'd appreciate that, Knox. Your investigation saved us from much worse losses." Over the following weeks, I helped establish new financial protocols. Every expense required documentation. All vendor information was verified independently. Board meetings included detailed financial reports. Ryan's house went up for sale in November. I never spoke to him again. Sometimes I saw him loading boxes into a moving truck, but we avoided eye contact. The criminal case proceeded through the courts. Ryan pled guilty to embezzlement and fraud. He received 2 years probation and community service. The restitution order ensured our HOA recovered most of the stolen funds. I testified at his sentencing hearing, described the impact on our community, the broken trust, the additional costs of implementing new security measures. The judge was thorough in her questioning. She wanted to understand how the fraud had continued undetected for so long. The defendant exploited the trust of his neighbors, she said. This kind of betrayal damages entire communities. Ryan received the maximum sentence allowed under the plea agreement. The message was clear. Financial crimes against community organizations would be prosecuted aggressively. By December, Pine Corner had new leadership and stronger financial controls. Property values remained stable. The landscaping projects were completed by legitimate contractors at fair prices. I continued serving on the Financial Oversight Committee. My experience with the investigation made me valuable for preventing future fraud. Other HOAs in Holloway contacted me for advice on implementing similar protections. The security camera system I had installed became a model for the entire neighborhood. Several other homeowners added cameras after learning about the investigation. Detective Park commended our HOA for its cooperation during the investigation. He said most financial crimes in small communities go unreported because victims don't know how to gather evidence properly. Your documentation made this case straightforward, he told me. Without that paper trail, prosecution would have been much more difficult. The betrayal had ended, but its lessons remained. Trust required verification. Community leadership demanded accountability. Financial oversight was everyone's responsibility. 6 months later, I stood in my backyard watching the new landscaping crew finish the community garden project. Real contractors this time, legitimate invoices, transparent bidding process. The Pine Corner HOA had transformed completely. Evelyn Clark, our new treasurer, implemented quarterly financial reviews. Every expense required dual approval. Board meetings included detailed budget discussions with supporting documentation. I'd moved from the Financial Oversight Committee to the HOA board itself. My maintenance supervisor background proved valuable for evaluating contractor proposals and identifying inflated costs. The security camera system had expanded throughout Pine Corner. 3 more attempted break-ins were prevented. Property values increased by 8% over the previous year. Ryan Clark's house sold in March. The new owners, a young family with twin daughters, brought energy back to that corner lot. They installed a swing set where Ryan's workshop had been. I never learned what happened to the stolen tools and equipment. The police recovered some items during their search, but most had already been sold through online marketplaces. Detective Park closed the case officially in February. The Business Bureau used our investigation as a training example for other communities dealing with HOA fraud. Financial crimes often start small, he explained during a neighborhood safety meeting. Early detection prevents larger losses. I received recognition from the South Dakota Association of Community Organizations for my role in exposing the fraud. The award ceremony felt surreal. I'd simply protected my investment and my neighbors. My relationship with the community deepened through the experience. Neighbors who'd barely acknowledged me before now stopped for conversations about property maintenance and security concerns. The betrayal had revealed weaknesses in our systems, but it also demonstrated our collective strength. When faced with deception, we'd chosen transparency. When confronted with theft, we demanded accountability. I lobby for legislation requiring independent HOA financial audits. Small communities deserve protection from predatory behavior by trusted leaders. The morning routine remained unchanged. Coffee at 6:30. Review of overnight security footage. Walk through the neighborhood before work. But now I noticed different details. The quality of contractor work. The accuracy of posted notices. The presence of proper documentation for community expenses. Trust had been rebuilt on stronger foundations. Verification replaced blind faith. Community oversight became everyone's responsibility. The investigation had taught me that suburban betrayal often hides behind familiar faces and routine interactions. Vigilance wasn't paranoia, it was prudent stewardship. Pine Corner thrived under its new leadership structure. The community garden produced vegetables for local food banks. The playground equipment met all safety standards. The financial reserves grew steadily. I kept the evidence files in my home office. Boxes of receipts, photographs, and documentation that had exposed the fraud. Reminders that accountability required constant attention. The neighborhood felt different now, safer, more connected. The shared experience of confronting betrayal had strengthened our bonds. Ryan's deception had ended, but its lessons endured. Trust earned through transparency, leadership proven through service. Community protected through vigilance. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.